Ncaa. Let's start with the second game, Duke, Arkansas. Coach K wins it. Now in the Final Four for the first time since 2015, but for a record 13th time in his career. And once again, Duke was fabulous offensively. Texas Tech, which is who Duke played in the Sweet 16, has been the best defensive team in the country, like all season. Since January 9th, which is the day after Arkansas started 0-3 in the SEC. If you run the data from there, top two defensive teams in America, according to adjusted defensive efficiency at barttorvik.com, were Texas Tech and Arkansas. 1 and 2 in that order. Duke shot 51.9% against Texas Tech from the field, 54.7% from the field against Arkansas. Just awesome offensively against, for more than 2 months now, literally the best two defenses in America. What do you make of what we saw from Coach K's Blue Devils?
Yeah, super impressive. This Duke team, I think my complaint coming into the postseason was that they have so much talent, maybe more than any team in college basketball. But throughout the season, it didn't really feel like this team got better. And you would think with as many freshmen and young players on this team that, you know, eventually throughout the year, they would start to click, they would start to find their roles, they'd start to look like, you know, a potential Final Four team. And there were some flashes, absolutely. But this Duke team, I never really felt like took the next step. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this Duke team that we've seen in the NCAA tournament looks different. They look so much better than what we saw for most of the regular season. Mark Williams is just dominating teams inside. Paolo Banchero is scoring at an elite level as he's done all year. I mean, we've talked about Jeremy Roach already, just stepping up to the plate. They have so many guys that can come at you. And even against some of the best defenses in all of college basketball, Arkansas tonight, Texas Tech in the Sweet 16, they just keep on moving along. And this suddenly looks like maybe the most dangerous team left standing in the field. Was really impressed with how they handled Arkansas tonight. I mean, this game was not close. I mean, 78-69, but there was really no doubt that Duke was advancing and doing so in pretty decisive fashion.
I'll be interested to see what the updated odds look like for a favorite to win the 2022 NCAA tournament when they update after the Elite Eight, because Kansas is a favorite over Miami on Sunday. The Jayhawks are the only number one seed left in the bracket. They are in the Elite Eight playing a double-digit seed. Miami can win that game, but Kansas should win that game. And then it'll be, if it goes that way, Duke, Villanova, and then, you'll have one seed left in the bracket. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see if at that point, and then of course either North Carolina or St. Peter's, and it'll be interesting to see at that point, even if Kansas is the lone one seed left, if Duke is actually the favorite heading into the Final Four to win the national title. I'm not sure they will be, but certainly based on the way the Blue Devils are playing right now, you could make the case. As we talked about all season, dating back to the preseason, Coach K always was going to, in his final season, have a team talented enough to do the whole thing. I've never said that's why he came back. I don't think it is. I think largely he came back because I don't think he wanted to end in the middle of a COVID season, missing the NCAA tournament. That's just not how the greatest college basketball coach in history's career should end. And I don't think, in fact, I was told by people close to him, he just wasn't comfortable with that. And he knew that if he came back, given the recruiting class he was about to enroll, that it wouldn't go that way again. And then, Duke was ranked number one in the country at one point in the season, but, took some real questionable losses. In fact, based on resume alone, and we talked about this on Selection Sunday, I don't think Duke should have even been a 2 seed. Not based on talent. Based on talent, Duke could have been a 1 seed. But based on actual resume, I didn't think Duke should have been a 2 seed. I thought Tennessee should have been a 2 seed. And if you had to push somebody off that line, it was probably Duke. Because if I remember correctly, Duke had more losses outside of Quadrant 1 on Selection Sunday than all of the other two seeds plus Tennessee combined. I think Duke had maybe 4, and all the other two seeds and Tennessee combined maybe had 1. So Duke did not, I don't think, have a top 8 resume, but Duke always had a top 8 roster. And now I think going into the Final Four, regardless of what happens on Sunday, Duke is going to go there. This is just the truth. With the greatest tournament coach in college basketball history and the best roster in New Orleans.
Yep, that's exactly right. And from what we saw against Arkansas, again, they're probably not going to be the favorite. I would imagine that the number 1 seed that's still standing, Kansas, assuming they win, will be the favorite. But they have so many guys that they can throw at you between Mark Williams. AJ Griffin tonight had a very quiet 18 points. Wendell Moore had 14 points. Paolo was 16. Mark Williams, 12 points, 12 rebounds, tied for the most blocks by a Duke player in an NCAA tournament, with 16 blocks after recording 3 tonight. So just the depth that they have so many top end guys. It feels like they're coming together at just the right time. And even coming out of my mouth, that feels a little bit cliche to say. But you know, this Duke team, there was never a question about talent. It was a matter of, can the pieces fit together? Can they gel at the right time? Can they play at a high level consistently? You know, we saw it in spurts throughout the season, but now at just the right time, Coach K, in almost like a storybook kind of ending, and we'll see how the rest of the tournament unfolds, is he's got his team kind of completely tuned and moving in the right direction.
Do we have a sense for whether the country is rooting for this or rooting against this?
I think the entire country is invested in this. I would imagine that like 83.65% is rooting against it. Would you say
really?
Over, under?
I would think under. I think I know that there's an anti-Duke sentiment, and I know that there are people who, you know, it's Duke, D-O-O-K, you know, or that, or puke. Like, I got it. I know those people exist, and they're still out there. But I do think on some level, people love great stories and great endings. And for the same reasons, even if you didn't love Tom Brady, when you thought he might walk away after that one season in Tampa Bay, the idea of him walking away with the Super Bowl was kind of cool. Now we know he's going to play till he's 70. But at the time, it was like, is this it? And if this is it, wow, what an ending. Like, I'm not a Tom Brady fan. I mean, I don't hate him, but like, I don't care. I'm indifferent. But even I was like, that's kind of awesome. You know, he left New England, went to Tampa Bay. This really might be it. And he just won another Super Bowl. Wow. Amazing. And I do think there's some people, maybe not the Duke haters, but like the people who are indifferent to Duke. Like Duke's been a part of their lives forever. And, you know, they don't love them, but they don't hate them. They're just sort of indifferent. I think those people can probably get behind the idea of, you know what? It would be kind of cool next Monday to watch this guy at the age of 75 walk off with a championship. I do think those people exist somewhere. I don't know how many of them there are, but they got to be out there somewhere.
Yeah, I think there's probably more of those than I'm probably giving credit for. There's a lot of just casual college basketball fans who maybe only tune in for the NCAA tournament, who they tune in and watch a game. You know, they recognize Coach K. They recognize Duke. They may not recognize, I don't know, whoever's left standing in Kansas. They probably do recognize Kansas, but St. Peter's, they certainly don't recognize St. Peter's. So, you know, this is clearly obviously the story of the NCAA tournament going into the Final Four. And it's pretty awesome. Like I've got goosebumps thinking about seeing Coach K playing or coaching his last game as a college head coach. Like seeing that in person next week in New Orleans is going to be pretty sweet.
So we now know Duke will be playing next Saturday. Villanova playing next Saturday. Duke will play either North Carolina or St. Peter's, either of which will be awesome. Like, we've talked about this before, so I won't spend much time on it, but big brands are what actually do big television numbers. It's not, isn't George Mason a great story? That's not great for television. Or isn't VCU going to the Final Four? Isn't that wonderful? Loyola Chicago. Like, that's all fine and fun and unique, but it's not the thing that generates the big number. The thing that generates the big number is Duke, North Carolina. Like that's the thing that like, wow. But I gather from talking to people who know more about this than I do that St. Peter's getting there is not the worst thing in the world, because like, trivia time. And I'm not trying to catch you off guard. I'm just trying to prove a point.
Okay.
What is UMBC beat Virginia? First 16 to ever beat a 1 seed. Great story. What's their mascot?
It's some sort of dog. I'm going to say
it doesn't even matter. That's my point. Everybody knows peacocks.
It was like close on the dog, though.
It's terriers, I believe.
Terriers. There you go. Hey,
yeah, but and it might not be, but that's what popped into my head. But that's the point. Like, I'm not 100% sure what it is, and you weren't either. But everybody knows peacocks. That's so easy. Shaheen Holloway. Is it now? Some people are on YouTube comments saying the Retrievers. It's the Retrievers. People are saying, I don't know. That's my point. It's like, what? Like, that was awesome, but like, that was just a thing. Peacocks is like taking over. Everybody. Everybody's into the peacocks. Shaheen Holloway has been incredible in these interview sessions. Doug Edder's got the mustache going. Like, everybody's in love with the peacock story. And so St. Peter's getting there. I don't, to play Duke, I don't think is the worst thing in the world, because you've probably got, a classic, definitely a classic David Goliath thing, but arguably the biggest David Goliath thing we've ever seen in the Final Four. And then, of course, the alternative to that is Duke, North Carolina, two rivals playing in the NCAA tournament for the first time ever in Coach K's last season ever. I mean, what? I don't know if you saw the postgame interview with Tracy Wolfson, and she was talking to Paolo Banchero, who famously in the ACC tournament, Duke wins, they advance to the finals, and then they're going to play either Virginia Tech or North Carolina. And the sideline reporter, forgive me, I don't remember who was there. I didn't even remember who UMBC's mascot was. And the sideline reporter said, so it's either North Carolina or Virginia Tech tomorrow. Who do you want? And that's a question that gets asked sometimes. It never gets answered. We're just, they're both good teams. We're just focused on us. Nobody ever actually answers the question. And Paulo was like, North Carolina. We want North Carolina. And, of course, then Virginia Tech won the game, and then Virginia Tech beat Duke and whatever. But this time, Tracy Wolfson, it was funny. She asked Paulo, she said, so it's either going to be North Carolina or St. Peter's in the Final Four. Who do you want to play? And he was like, you're not getting me this time. he like laughed or smiled, and she laughed, and it was really good. But, obviously I think probably Duke, North Carolina, these two forever rivals separated by not very much road. Especially given that Carolina ruined Coach K's final game inside Cameron Indoor. I think clearly that's bigger and that's better. But St. Peter's is awesome too. I like that. Whatever. Like, here's what I can promise you. No matter who wins on Sunday between Carolina and St. Peter's, that Duke game in the Final Four is going to be incredible, the build up to it. And it will be the second of the two Final Four games. Like, whoever Villanova plays, that's coming first, because the headliner is going to be Duke against either the Peacocks or the Tar Heels. I don't have a Tar Heel impression. I'm sorry.
I mean, St. Peter's has already made literally history, NCAA tournament history. They're the first 15 seed to ever make it to the Elite Eight. And we remember Florida Gulf Coast, the other 15 seed who made it to the Sweet 16 before. Oral Roberts, who last year made it to the Sweet 16. Those are fantastic stories. But what St. Peter's has done getting to the Elite Eight is something that, I mean, it may very well be the best Cinderella story in NCAA tournament history. So if they're in the Final Four, I mean, that's a huge, I think people are tuning in for that. That's a huge draw. It's still not Duke, North Carolina. And I know Nada's with me on this. The draw for those two programs would be so massive. The buildup would be so spectacular. Coach K obviously lost to North Carolina in his last game in Cameron Indoor. I mean, just the storylines that abound, the fact that they've never played in an NCAA tournament against each other would just be fantastic. I really, honestly, I'm not rooting for either team. I think probably our bosses may be slightly rooting for North Carolina. I don't know. But yeah, this is either way on Sunday. I'm really fascinated to see, because I think either matchup is going to be fantastic, the Final Four.